Okay, and to start off the employee self-service training, I wanted to show you on the intranet where we have some of the documentation materials. So under HR, if you click on that, we have an HRIS button over here on the bottom right-hand side. If you click on that, we have the employee self-service training document along with the open enrollment training document. And these are the two documents that were attached on the registration portal site as well. And these are the ones that have screenshots for your reference. You will get open enrollment guidebooks to your houses at the end of next week. There will also be instructions in there for open enrollment, but they will not contain screenshots. It will just be a listing of step-by-step instructions. And as we finalize all of the training materials, as we add new features to self-service, we will also update the documentation. We'll send out a notification via email and then put it here as well. And then, like I said, the recording that we're doing now will be placed here on the intranet as well. So to use self-service, you can see here on the intranet we do have a link here that you could click on. We also have it on the left-hand side as well. If you have the open enrollment instructions available, if you look at the front of the document, item number 2, we have the URL. It is selfservicewalk.waukeshacounty.gov. And I will open that up just in case someone doesn't have it. I'll reference you. It's this URL. So you can actually access self-service from anywhere as long as you are using a laptop or a PC. You cannot use a smartphone or a tablet at this time. So you do not need to be on the county network in order to look at a pay stub to complete open enrollment. So we now have this new flexibility available to us. It's just that you can't use it on a tablet at this point. When we move away from providing paper pay stubs, one of our goals is to get the ability to at least look at your pay history on a smartphone. That functionality isn't available just yet, but it is something that we're working on. But again, you can access that information through self-service using a laptop or a PC. All right, and then to utilize self-service, you are going to use your county login, the username, and the password. So the access key that you see here on the screen, that is the same as your username, and then the password is your same password. So if you get a notification that your password is expiring and you have to go into Adexis and change it, you would also then be using that same new password here for self-service when you log in. All right. So I am going to go ahead and for today's demonstration, we're going to be using a demo environment. I'm going to log in. And when you first log in for the very first time, this is what you're going to see. And it should have your name over here in the upper right-hand corner. And we have created a special flyout menu for self-service Go Live that coincides with employee open enrollment. So that is over here on the left-hand side of the screen. If I click on that and expand it, there are some steps. So the employee open enrollment instructions that you have will walk you through steps 1 through 9. The open enrollment flyout tab was created. It gives you guided instructions, and we've built it in such a way that there's a logical flow and a sequence that by the time you get to open enrollment, everything that you would need to successfully do your open enrollment is completed. So all of these screens that we've got here listed, steps 1 through 9, they exist within the system if you were to click on the main menu feature. It's just that we didn't want to have you kind of click through the various things. So this open enrollment flyout menu will be available October 1st through the 31st, and then after open enrollment it will go away, and then when you use the system you'll be using the main menu to access the different features. So I'm going to walk you through all of the steps here for open enrollment to start off with, what you need to do. So the first step that we have here is your personal profile. And if you close the flyout menu, it gives you more real estate, and it's a little bit easier to read on the screen. So you have your address information, your phone number. This was all imported. What we want you to do is to verify that this is accurate. If there's anything missing here with an asterisk, we would ask that you go ahead and complete it. These are completely editable fields down here on the bottom. So if you just click in the text box and type in a number, and then you click off, that new number is now blue. And we are also collecting personal email. That way we can communicate about anything, with regard to benefits or anything like that that isn't necessarily always directed to your work email. So. Okay, and then you'll notice once I clicked off on this information in the upper right-hand side, I have a green disk that appeared. That is the Save button. So what you'll want to do next is click on the green Save. And then it's going to ask you for the effective date. Most people can put the effective date of when they're making this change. If you notice that your phone number changed 10 years ago, there's no need for you to backdate it 10 years. You can go ahead and put today's date as the effective record. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. On this particular screen, you can leave the change reason alone as conversion, and you'll want to click on OK. And you'll notice the information that I changed now is burnt orange, but I'm not done yet. On the very top here, I need to submit my changes. And then there's going to be a pop-up box that asks you to verify the old information to the new information. And you can click OK. And now it is actually complete. Currently within the system, there is a bug, and this Submit Changes button should disappear. When we get to one of the other steps in the process, you'll see how it goes away. But if you initially just click on Save and you don't submit and then click on the OK pop-up box that also appears, you're not complete yet. But once you've clicked OK on that pop-up box, it will go through, and this is called a personnel action. And these personal information changes come to Human Resources for review, and then we approve it and we process it. And then once it is processed, the text that is burnt orange will go back to being black text, and then you could go back in it and make a change. Okay, I'm going to cancel it for now. Okay, so that is step 1. And you move on to step 2, which is reviewing your contact information. So contact is a very broad term. We have people who will be your life insurance beneficiary, they're considered a contact. People who are a dependent on your insurance are considered a contact. And then people who can function as an emergency contact are also considered a contact. We imported only insurance dependents. We did not import anybody as an emergency contact, nor did we upload any information as far as life insurance beneficiaries. Right now, all of your life insurance beneficiary information is on a paper form in your benefits file, and we just figured it was a good time for everybody to update that information. So it's very possible, if you do have single coverage, that you might not have any contact listed here at all, but in my test employee here, this person has 3 people who are dependents on the insurance. So if you find yourself needing to add a contact, there is this green plus button. You would go ahead and click on that. And then all of the information will appear down below. Anything that has the red asterisk is required, so you would need to just complete that at the bare minimum. I'm going to go ahead and undo that here for now. But when you click on a name of an individual, like here I'm clicking on Stephen, his information pops up down below. If I click on Noelle, you can see that it changed to show her information. On the right-hand side, we have 4 boxes here that indicate if this person should be a beneficiary, if they're a dependent, if they're an emergency contact, and if they're a spouse. So it is very possible that someone could have all 4 boxes checked, as is the case here for Stephen. So these 4 correspond to the grid up here. Let's see here. I'm going to modify Noelle. I'm going to also list her as an emergency contact. Once you make a change on the screen, like the previous screen, you'll have a green disk button over here on the right-hand side that is for save. And it will update the screen for you here. And that's it. And if there is ever an instance where maybe you have an emergency contact listed, maybe that person is no longer someone that you want to have listed as an emergency contact, over here on the contact status, you could change them to inactive and then save it, and then they will disappear from the grid. All right. The next step is to look at your life insurance beneficiaries. Everybody who is regular part-time and regular full-time receives county-paid life insurance. If you enrolled last year at open enrollment for the supplemental term life, you will also see that listed here on the screen. And I'm going to delete this information here because when you first log in, you won't actually see this. That's from the previous demonstration that we had. So this is what you should see when you log in for the very first time. At a minimum, you'll see county paid life. You may or may not see supplemental term life, depending on what you did at last year's open enrollment. So for this screen, you will click on the green plus button. You will click on the green magnifying glass, and that will pull up your beneficiaries that were indicated on the previous screen under contacts. And then you will select the person. Then you need to put in a percentage. You also need to indicate a start date. I'm going to put today. And then a recipient priority. And I'm going to have Steve as the primary, and then I'm going to show you how you can add additional contacts. So in this situation here, I have Stephen as the primary contact at 100%, and then I have Noel as the secondary contact at 100%. You could have multiple people listed with recipient priority number 1. Just the percentages need to equal 100% across the number of recipients that you have at priority number 1. So if you didn't have a spouse and you had 5 children and you wanted to break it out to 20% each, you can certainly do that, and they can all be recipient priority number 1. Same concept for recipient priority number 2 or 3, and then you could also just list somebody 1, 2, 3, 4 if that's what you wanted to do as well. Okay. Same thing applies to the supplemental life. If you did sign up, you won't have any information here, so you would go through the same process and add the individuals that you would like to be a beneficiary for that benefit. If you ever need to undo something, I was clicking this back arrow that undoes what has happened. Step 4 is a screen that is view only, and it allows you to view your benefits and any recipients that might be enrolled in a benefit. So if I click on medical, for example, you can see that there are some benefit recipients here. But if I clicked on RHS, there's nobody there because there really is no benefit recipient other than the employee. Okay. Next step is step 5. It is the direct deposit form. Everybody is on direct deposit. As of the first check in April, this is now required for all employees. So this screen should just be verification of what is currently in place for you. In the demo environment, we did not import anybody's transit numbers or account numbers, but in real life, you will see your own account number and transit number, so it might look something like this for you. In this particular instance, this employee has 2 accounts. They have, for their first account, they have a savings account, and they have the first $500 of this paycheck going into that account. Then they have a second account, which is their checking account, and all of the pay remaining beyond that initial $500 is going into the checking account. If you need to add additional bank accounts, you again would click on the green plus button to add that information. If you are going down in the number of accounts that you have, so in this case, if this person was going from 2 to 1 account, they could click on the green trash can here, and they could delete the record. But just note that you would need to modify the screen, for example, because this was the account where all of the pay was going to. So they need to uncheck the pay remaining on the one that's going away and check it for the other account and modify the screen as necessary. I'm going to reset the screen. Okay. If you are adding a brand new account, you will need to upload documentation. Here in the middle of the screen, there is the upload button here. If you click on that, you can choose a file, and then you can add, for this, it would be an actual voided check or a bank document that you would upload and attach. And then once you're done with your changes, you would click on Save. So I need to change something here. So let me change 400 here. And click Save. Again, you need to put an effective date. And here you can click on Change Reason. And click OK. And again, now the information down below is burnt orange. And you will click on Submit Changes. And you'll get the pop-up box to review what the old value was compared to the new value. And you click OK. And here on this screen, you can see an example of where that Submit button went away like it should. So again, this is now a personnel action that is waiting for approval from payroll. And once they process it, this will become black text again. It will no longer be burnt orange. And like now, except that it was paper, any changes that you make to this screen, if you want it to be on the very next paycheck, need to be in by the Wednesday prior to the pay period. So today is Thursday, and we get paid next week on the 25th. If I wanted to have updated where my money was going for September 25th, I would have needed to have entered this information by yesterday morning. If I submit it today, it will then take effect for the next pay period and the next pay date. All right, next up we have tax filing. Again, this is just review of information that you have already in place in the system. There are two tabs at the bottom. You have federal and you have state taxes. If you click on state, you can see that it has the same setup as the federal taxes. If you want to make a change for what your filing status is, you would click on the drop down here and select the other category that you want. You can enter in a new number for exemptions and click on Save. There we go. And then put in the effective date. And then select a change reason. Click OK. And as you can see again, the information that was changed is now burnt orange. And then I need to scroll back up and click on Submit Changes one more time here. And again, you need to verify your changes and click OK on the pop-up box. And again, now this is a personnel action that went off to payroll for approval and processing. And so you have the flexibility to change this multiple times throughout the year. You just need to remember to go back in and change it. So if you're getting any overtime paid out, if you're getting holidays paid out, and you, for some reason, you wanted to increase your number of exemptions, you can do that. You just need to remember to come back in and lower it to your normal amount. And the same timing requirements as the direct deposit. So if you wanted this on your next paycheck, you need to get it in by the Wednesday prior to the pay date. Okay, the next thing is the W-2 consent. So when you log in, it's not going to have a consent. But if you wanted to receive your W-2 information electronically, you would come in here and simply click on the button, and it's going to say consent received. If for some reason you wish to withdraw that consent in the future, you would come back in here, click on the button, and withdraw it. But by having it showing as consent received, you will be able to go in here and access your W-2 faster. And actually, you can also create a report and print off a PDF of your W-2 when it becomes available in January. If you do not consent, you will get a paper copy in the mail to you or hand-delivered here at work. What we have available in the system, or what will be available in January of 2020, will only be the 2019 W-2. If you need a W-2 from a previous year, you will need to contact payroll and they can generate another copy for you. Next up is the electronic signature agreement. This is you agreeing to use the sign-off toggle box as your electronic signature should we ever upload a document to the system and that maybe we require all employees to review. So maybe we have a new policy in place and we assign it to everybody to review. You could come in here and check off on the toggle, and instead of signing a sheet of paper, you then would be signing with that checkbox. So those are steps 1 through 8. So you can, there was an email that went out, you can actually access the system and you could be doing steps 1 through 8. Step 9 is open enrollment. That you will not have access to complete until open enrollment opens up on October 1st. And it's also good to have all of that information in steps 1 through 8 in line and in order, because once you come here, then you can kind of just roll through the election form. So when you look at this form in particular, a few things to note. So here in this example, it says election open 9/1, election closed 9/30. That is only for this demonstration, because if I had the date of 10/1, I wouldn't be able to show you the form. But in real life, it'll say 10/1, and then it'll say 10/31, and it will also say your annual open enrollment. It will also say that your election stage is open, so that means you can do your election. As you scroll through the screen, you'll notice various different benefits. These are all of the benefits that are part of annual open enrollment. If there is a benefit not listed here, it's not actually part of the annual open enrollment process. So some stuff like your 457, dependent life insurance, that's not actually part of the annual open enrollment. For each of the benefits, you'll have a little information blurb. It's not as detailed as what is coming in your open enrollment guidebooks, but again, it gives you a little bit of information. All of your current benefit information will default into the system. So if you are not in a benefit, you will not see anything. So in this example, this person for the healthcare FSA, the current coverage is blank. That means they are not actually enrolled. And the other indicator of that means that the default election that was populated was coverage to be decided. If she was actually enrolled in this, one of the healthcare FSA option would be currently selected. For this demonstration, I'm actually going to decline this benefit. So I'm going to click on the radial button under the choice column for that. Once the system updates and notices that I decline, it's going to give you a reason for decline pop-up box. You do need to select something from the drop-down. The availability for us to modify this is a little bit limited, so you do have to pick something, and I would pick whatever is most applicable to that. So if you want to pick not required, you can do that. You just have to pick something. Next up is the health plan information. Here this person does have current coverage, and they currently are enrolled in the high deductible health plan, single pre-tax. We were using this person in a previous demonstration, so it didn't get reset, but what it would default in is a single pre-tax here, along with the cost. So let's say in this open enrollment, I want to enroll in family coverage. I would just click on the appropriate radial box. Once the system processes, it's going to open up this benefit recipients box here. And because she currently has single coverage, there are no dependents. So I do need to click on the green magnifying glass in order to add a dependent. So you'll remember on step 2, just because you add someone who might be intended to be an insurance dependent on step 2, that doesn't actually tie them to the insurance until you get to this step. So I have 3 people listed here, and they're all listed as available values. That means they are available for me to pick and to add them to the insurance. Once I move them over by using the green arrows, they are now under selected values, and if I click OK, they will now be listed as benefit recipients for this benefit. The other thing that's nice with this form is you can see your cost, and this is the cost per pay period for the employee and also the cost per pay period for Waukesha County. And these are the 2020 rates. And for 2020, for health, dental, and vision, we are moving to 24 pay periods. Right now, health insurance comes out of every check, and this year we have 27 pay periods, so there's 27 deductions. Whereas Dental and vision come out of the second check of the month, so there's only 12 deductions per year, but next year there will be 24. All right, dental functions the same way here. The current coverage will default in. And I'm going to move the family to be covered. If you are currently doing a deduction like the health savings account or the dependent care FSA or the healthcare FSA, if you have a current deduction amount, that current deduction amount will default into the system. If you want to change the amount, you can do that now, and the amount that you enter in here on the open enrollment form will take effect on the first check in 2020. So once you click off and the system processes it, it will also update the Your Cost column down below, and once you get to the last tab in this process, it's going to add up all of your costs for the different benefits that you select. And dependent care FSA, for this example, I'm going to decline the coverage. And then next up is the supplemental term life. If you signed up previously at last year's open enrollment, you can increase one level of coverage this year without going through medical underwriting. If you did not sign up previously, you would be considered a late enrollment and you would be subject to medical underwriting. However, you can still make the election here at open enrollment. If you do sign up, you will be asked to, I'm going to sign her up for the $25,000 amount of coverage. If you do sign up, you will be required to indicate a beneficiary here on this benefit. And you need to enter in a percentage amount. So the flexibility that you have on this screen right now for the beneficiary information is somewhat limited in comparison to the beneficiary screen. So I would recommend just at least putting one person here and then going back to the other screen and making your additional modifications that you would need. All right, and vision insurance I'm going to leave as is. I think it looks fine, and they got family. Okay. So now you're done making your elections. What you need to do is click on Validate Elections. And what you want to see is your elections have passed the validation process. You may now submit your elections. On page 15 of the open enrollment handout, I do have a screenshot of the message that you might see if there was an issue with the validation process. It says one or more of the elections have failed the validation process. Please review each plan for any indicated corrections you may need to make. And you will also notice some red text on the screen in the area that needs correction. So once you make the correction, then you need to click on Validate again, and then you can move on. So now I've passed. I will click on OK. Then you need to scroll back up to the top, and then you may need to do this step, which is attach supporting documentation. If you are adding any brand new dependents to your insurance, you will need to attach a document that confirms your relationship. If you are not adding any brand new dependents, you can skip this tab and go right to Review Cost and Submit Elections. Number 9 will highlight all of your election decisions that you made on the Select Benefits tab. It will also add up your cost along with the employer cost per pay period. Number 10 shows you the benefit recipients, so who is enrolled in which plan. And then number 11 will show you any of the benefits that you've declined. If at any time you notice that you wanted to make a change, you can go back to Select Benefits. You can make the modification. Just make sure that you validate before you move on. And I did forget to mention too that if you are working on this screen and you notice that when you go to add a benefit recipient, maybe one of your dependents is missing, you can go back to step 2, add the contact, and come back to this screen, and it will have auto-saved where you were in the process. So now I am okay with all of my elections. I'm going to submit all of my elections for approval. And then I need to click on OK on the pop-up message. And what you want to see again is another pop-up that tells you it's been successfully submitted. If you scroll back up to the top of the form, you will now see that your election stage has changed from being open to Submitted. Once it does say Submitted, you no longer have the ability to make any modifications to the form. If you do notice that you need to make a change, we have asked that you notify HR. So on page 18 of the handout, number 71, we ask that you email hropenenrollment@waukeshacounty.gov by the end of open enrollment with what the correction should be. So that is the open enrollment tab. Like I said, all of these screens that we've laid out in steps 1 through 9 also appear on main menu. And so I want to show you that now too. If I go to main menu and I click on benefits and I click on benefit history, so once open enrollment is done and you want to know what you did, you can come to this screen and you can see what your election decision was here. So here, the one that I just did is showing as submitted. Once we approve it and we process it, it will change to process. So in real life, you will only see one row. You will not see two. You see two here because we've used this in the previous demonstration earlier today. So it will change from open to submitted to processed. And as we continue on in years to come, this list will grow. So that would say 2019, 2020, 2021, and so on. If you wanted to look at your benefit election screen again while open enrollment is still going on, even though you've submitted it, this benefit elections screen here on the left-hand side is the same one that you access through the open enrollment menu. But once open enrollment goes away, you will not see this information anymore. If I go to the first item here under benefits, current benefits, that was similar to step 4 in the previous open enrollment tab. You can see your list of benefits and then the amount as well. Your enrolled dependents is just like it sounds. It'll show the benefit, and then if you click on the plan, it will show you who is enrolled down below. And then again, you have the life insurance beneficiary screen. And this shows you benefits that you have as of today. So even though we enrolled in supplemental term life, it's not enrolled yet because this would be a benefit change that takes effect 1/1 of 2020. Under benefits, we also have what we consider the always open benefits, so the 457, the Roth IRA, and the HSA. So throughout the year, if you want to make changes to your HSA, you can come in here and you can do that. But if you're making an election for the new plan year to start, you would be doing it on the open enrollment form. So for the 457 Roth IRA HSA screen, this is a screen that you would be only using if you're actually enrolled in a benefit. If you have not actually elected, you would not enroll through this screen because we want to make sure that you actually have an account open. If you go in here and you make a selection and the money comes out of your paycheck, but there's no account for us to send the money to, the money will just kind of hang out there until an account gets opened. So we want to make sure we've listed that here in the instructions too. So if you want to open up the 457 account or the Roth IRA, you can do that online through ICMA's website. If you want to open up an HSA, you can contact us and we'll get the enrollment form because we actually create the enrollment online for you. So for people who are already enrolled in a benefit, like I said, this is where you can elect to make a change. And we have the steps. There's just a few items that you need to do, but it gives you the freedom to do it online yourself versus filling out a sheet of paper and sending it to payroll to update. One thing you need to know about this particular screen, one of the limitations, is that it will only show you the current elections as of today's date. It cannot show you future dated changes. And I'm going to go through 2 examples so you can see what I'm talking about. So the first step in the process, we would click on the green magnifying glass under enrollment status for the benefit that you are electing to change. You click reset and then you select the enrollment status of 11 and then click OK. So I'm going to do the 457 pre-tax here, which I am currently enrolled in. And the enrollment status column is this one, so I'm going to click on the magnifying glass here. I need to click on reset because I'm going to elect to make a change to this benefit and then click on OK. Once I do that, down below the text becomes blue and I can make my modification. So let's say I'm going to change the $500 deduction to $300. I can do that, and then I need to pick an effective date. I am going to pick today's date, and I'm going to save it. You will see that the screen took it and it updated it, and you can see the change is immediate. And again, just like the direct deposit information and the W-2 tax filing information, if you wanted this to be on your next check, you need to make sure that it's in on the Wednesday prior to the pay date, and you also need to pick an effective date that falls within the pay period that pertains to that pay date. So in the example, the pay period of 8/31 to 9/13 is the one that's paid out on 9/25. So I had picked an effective date of 9/19. Well, that is outside of that pay period, so that will not happen on the paycheck for 9/25. That will happen on the first paycheck that we receive in October. All right, then on the next example, I'm going to use the Roth IRA because that's the other benefit that I'm enrolled in. I'm going to change my deduction amount, but I'm going to put a future date. So again, I'm going to click on the green magnifying glass under enrollment status. I'm going to click on reset, select elected, and again, now the text is blue. Let's say I'm going to make this $99. And for my effective date, I'm going to pick 10/1 of 2019. And I'm going to click Save. You will notice that it does not show $99. It went back to, the screen shows 2/11/54. That is because, again, this screen can only show you the information as of today. Once 10/1 rolls around, the screen will reflect $99. So you can come back in and check. If you're still unsure, you can certainly call HR, you can call payroll, and we can verify, because on our view as system admins, we can see the effective record and the 10/1 date. Okay. So that is all of the benefits within the system. What I'm going to do now is walk you through the other features of the system. And if you have the other document, that is covered in the personality training for the employee role. And I'm going to start at the very top under personal information. And you saw personal profile, that was in the open enrollment tab. What you haven't seen is the job and compensation screen. This will show you your position information, your job information, along with your wage information. And you will see here in the middle of the screen we've got some arrows here. It has your history. So this particular person only has 2 things, and that's because she was a new hire as of October 15th last year. And you can see under change reason why this information exists. If I click on the green arrow to go to the next record, the next change that they experienced was on 1/5, and that was for the across-the-board increase. If you see something that has this 12/31/3999, that is the system's date for the end of time, and that is the most current record. If you've been with the county a really long time and you have a lot of information, when we imported that information, not everything came over correctly for people who have a large history and who have been here a long time. So it's possible for maybe job title, you might have something that says missing historical. That's because maybe it was imperfect to begin with in Ceridian, and we weren't able to match it up with the position information that we have here in Highline. But at the very least, your wage information and your effective date for the wage increases that you've experienced since you've been a county employee is accurate. That has all been audited and verified. Next, we have verification of employment. This is a report that you can run for yourself. If you need to print off wage information for a loan or something at the bank, you can print this off. All you would need to do is come here and click on the launch button. And it will open up a PDF. with the wage information. So your name, your address, your position, your hire date, and then the wage information here. So we don't have the 2017 wage information in the system, but as we move forward in time, once we get to 2020, it'll say 2018 here, 2019, 2020, and we'll have all of that wage information. And I should also mention too, the very first time that you run this report, it's possible that up here on the upper right hand side or in the URL it will block the pop-up, but you would get a notice, so you just need to allow pop-ups from this particular system. And then the last thing under personal information is document sign-offs. So if we did attach a document like a policy to you, this is where you would see it. And then you could come in here and check the toggle box, and then you would sign off on that document. But right now there's nothing in the system for anybody. The next main menu feature under the system here is pay information. We have your pay history and we have pay stub. I'm going to show you the pay stub first. So here in the middle of the screen, you're going to pick on the green magnifying glass, you're going to pick the pay period that you want to look at. And you can pick multiple pay periods, or you can pick one pay date, and then move it over just like you do for the insurance selections. And then you'll click on Launch. And here you have the pay stub. And this looks like the pay stub that you get right now, but just as a reminder, pay stubs will be going away effective with the first pay date in November. So we'll continue to get pay stubs through October, but after that, that's it. So then you would come in here and you can run the pay stub like I've shown you here, or you can also look at something called the pay stub information, or history, It's just another view that shows you the information, except it's in a grid format, and if you click on the pay period, it will show you the pay information down below. So it's really up to you, whatever view you like best, you can utilize to access that information. Just remember though, as of November, this is where you're going to need to log in to look at that. Okay. And we have seen all of the other information here under pay. And you've seen all the benefits. The next thing to look at is your reviews under talent and performance. So you will have the ability to look at your performance review information here. So this person has two records. One is completed and the other is pending. So here they had an evaluation in 2018. It was the annual eval. You can see that it's been marked as completed. You can see the overall points and you can see the overall rating. You can also see the reviewer. And if your supervisor or your department attached a copy of the performance review, it will be here as well. And you can click on that and it will open up the document for you. This is view only. You do not have the ability to edit the screen. And then this form also showed that they are due for an eval again in December of this year. And that's why we have the pending one that shows that they are due for review December of 2019. And then once they get that one, they'd be due for another review in 2020. The next area is company resources. We have a company directory, and you can search for employees here. You can sort by name, you can sort by job, and then we also have something listed here. If you click on a person here, the department, this is their Highline department. It really is more about reporting structure. So if I look at this person here, Mollison, who's a lieutenant, they are a part of the Detective Bureau lieutenants, but the overall county department is the Sheriff's Department. And then you can also see the location where they work. So Justice Center, this person works in Health and Human Services. So another avenue. The directory on the intranet is not going away. This is just another resource for you to utilize. And it only shows county employees, so if you need to look up a contractor or someone who's not actually a county employee, you wouldn't be able to find them here in the system. Document library, if we attach any countywide documents, they would be housed here. So if we wanted to attach the 2020 holidays that are being recognized, we could attach that document here. Right now, we just don't have anything added yet. And again, the sign-off master agreement was step 8 that you saw under the Open Enrollment menu tab. So just as a recap, the Open Enrollment tab gives you the guided direction on what you need to complete. But again, those screens are also available under Main Menu. And the Main Menu will be what you're going to utilize after November 1. Prior to that, you can use the Open Enrollment tab if you wish. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. Let me see here. Okay, does anybody have any questions? You can, if you have a question, you can go ahead and ask, or if you wanted to use it in the chat, you can certainly do that as well. Okay, I see there's a question coming. Oh, okay, a comment. Well, you're welcome. Okay, seeing that there are no questions, I can go ahead and we can end the WebEx. But if you have any questions, you can always reach out to HR. One of the things I did forget to mention at the beginning, and I'm sorry, is that we are also going to be holding open enrollment workshops in the month of October. So if you do need assistance going through your open enrollment form, you can come to Administration Center Room 155 during the times that we'll have listed, and we'll have HR staff on site to walk you through that as well. So, okay, well, I hope you guys enjoy the new system. Thank you.